New developments in a story we brought you back in February about a big city prosecutor under federal indictment and the stunning and, in my views, unsubstantiated allegations she made against the federal prosecutor leading the case against her. Baltimore City State's attorney Marilyn Mosby was indicted back in January on 2 counts of perjury and 2 counts of making false statement on mortgage applications. She's accused of falsely claiming, quote, adverse financial consequences under a COVID legal exception that was designed to help people cope with the pandemic. She allegedly withdrew money from her City of Baltimore retirement fund, which she wouldn't have otherwise had access to without paying severe penalties, and then purchased a couple of vacation homes in Florida. But the case took a wild turn when Mosby made explosive charges of corruption and racism against the Department of Justice. The Baltimore prosecutor alleging that she is being targeted because she was so effective at fighting for racial justice. Back in February, she found a very receptive outlet to air those claims, completely unchecked, in the form of Joy Reid's program on MSNBC.
I expected as a state's attorney that, fighting for racial justice in the criminal justice system, fighting to end mass incarceration in a state where you have the largest sort of incarceration of Black people in the entire nation, I understood that I was going to get pushback. I never expected the lawsuits, and I never expected to be on this side of the fence when the only thing that I'm attempting to do is to provide equal justice to all, regardless of race, sex, religion, and occupation.
Right. And now, that really has very little to do with the allegations against her. Beyond her broad allegations, Mosby made a more specific claim against the lead prosecutor in the case against her, federal attorney named Leo Wise. Mosby's attorney made a motion to have Wise thrown off the case, alleging he's biased because he donated to the campaigns of 2 of her opponents back in 2018, opponents who she's facing again this July. It's true, Wise gave donations to the 2 candidates, modest donations, about $100 each. But the candidates that he just contributed to are both Democrats. They're not Republicans with starkly different agendas. So Mosby's argument that Wise somehow wanted her out because of her effectiveness on racial justice doesn't really add up when you consider the federal prosecutor's support for other Democrats who hold similar positions. Still, there was this insistence from Mosby that she is a crusader for justice, being targeted by powerful enemies.
I have done things as a prosecutor that a lot of other prosecutors have not done in this country, whether that is holding police accountable when a lot of other prosecutors in this country would not do so, whether that is ending the war on drugs, which we know was a war on Black people in the city of Baltimore, whether that is exonerating 12 innocent Black men who the criminal justice system was willing and able to allow to rot for cumulatively 300 years in jail for crimes they did not commit. Right? I've done things that would upset the status quo, but to understand and to recognize all that they've attempted to do. I've gotten lawsuits, OIG investigations, state ethics investigations. They've been coming for my law license since I charged those officers in Freddie Gray.
So let's be clear about what she's saying. The Department of Justice, under the watch of a Democratic president, is corruptly prosecuting her on the basis of race and politics. It's a claim which I said at the time deserves the highest degree of scrutiny. Well, now her allegations have been examined and they have been rejected. A federal judge last week ruled against Mosby in an effort to dismiss the case and remove Leo Wise as the prosecutor. U.S. District Judge Lydia K. Grigsby ruled that most of Mosby's claims amount only to, quote, objections or differences of opinions and not actual evidence that she's being unfairly targeted. The judge also ruled that the nominal donations made by Wise to Mosby's opponents didn't prove that the prosecution's motives in this case are corrupt or political. Now, of course, the slam dunk ruling against her did not stop Mosby from continuing to push her now rejected claims outside the courthouse.
They have combed every aspect of my life for the past 2 years. And this is where we are, hundreds and thousands of dollars in debt and attorney's fees, fighting a battle in which they're now coming at me with. They made recommendations for tax evasion on taxes I hadn't even charged yet. This particular prosecutor refused to put exculpatory evidence in front of a grand jury. That's prosecutorial misconduct. And so, yes, I'm going to fight, and I'm going to prevail like I always do.
Okay, I have no problem with her laying out what her defense is, right? About saying why she's innocent, about why she thinks this is prosecutorial overreach. All of that is fair game. The part that I find offensive is this notion that somehow she's being prosecuted because of her success in fighting for racial justice. Mosby faces trial in September, but before that, she'll face the voters of Baltimore in July when she runs in the Democratic primary, seeking a third term as state's attorney. Joining us now for more on this wild story is Ron Cassie, senior editor for Baltimore Magazine. He's been covering this case closely. Ron, thank you so much for coming on the show. Really appreciate it. It does seem to me that Mosby's strategy is largely to avoid discussing the allegations and the legal rulings, and instead to try to get people in the court of public opinion to believe that she is a victim of racial bias. Is that fair?
Yeah, she's fighting court of public opinion right now with her attorney. We'll have to see what happens in September when it goes to trial, what the strategy is, in the courtroom.
Now, where does she stand in terms of polling, for example, in the Democratic primary? I mean, is she expected to win re-election?
Well, being an incumbent, running for a third term against two credible challengers, there's a good chance, it's probably expected here that she would prevail perhaps with like 40% of the vote. She got 49%, the other two candidates split the remainder. So she did not get a majority of the vote last time, 4 years ago. We imagine she would get less than that now with everything that's happening, but she could still easily prevail.
Wow. And so people of Baltimore aren't offended, it seems, at least on the whole, by her, her comments. Tell us about the proceeding the other day.
Well,
it doesn't.
I would be careful.
Go ahead.
She did not receive a majority of the vote last time, 49%, and she most likely won't again. But when you have multiple candidates run, they're going to split the different votes. So that's what we mean. I mean, our mayor Brandon Scott won the last election with 28% of the Democratic primary vote.
Right. Okay. Fair. But tell us about what the judge was saying at the proceeding the other day regarding her arguments.
Yeah, I mean, the key there was the bit about racial prejudice. The case is being brought for that reason. And she asked Scott Bolden, Marilyn Mosby's high-profile attorney, if there was any evidence of Leo Wise, the U.S. prosecutor, ever prosecuting somebody because of racial prejudice. And Scott Bolden's answer was no. In all fairness, there was not any evidence of that ever happened.
But maybe that just seems to me kind of stunning, right? It's just stunning to me. This is a serious allegation. If this was actually happening, that she was being targeted because she was fighting for racial justice, that would be really serious stuff. But the notion that you've got this guy who even her own lawyer is conceding never had, there's no evidence that he ever prosecuted anyone based on racial bias. And yet she's continuing to suggest that the Department of Justice under Joe Biden is going after her because she's some sort of, racial justice warrior. Just seems absurd.
Yeah, I think she has a complicated record in Baltimore. We should say that too. As a quote unquote progressive prosecutor, I mean, she's a top law enforcement officer in the city. But there are other cases. There's a high profile case involving a man named Keith Davis Jr., who she will prosecute next month for the fifth time on the same murder charge, the sixth time overall. Criminal justice activists in the city raised questions about the percentage of people held without bail and the number of children charged as adults. So there's a complicated record here as a prosecutor.
But those are all issues. But those are all fair game as far as I'm concerned. Those are all fair game. You can either support her or not support her based on those decisions. I think that is just totally different than suggesting that the Department of Justice is corrupt and going after her based on racial bias when there's zero evidence to support that. And that's the part about it that I find to be the most troubling. Ron Cassie, thank you very much for spending the time with us and coming on the program. Appreciate it. Thank you for watching. Click the red subscribe button below so you can get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.